Hey folks, Brando here, and I'm in my little beautiful studio apartment here in Woodsboro, Texas. And I'm in a little bit of an emotional state. I've been moved by a movie that is amazing. I had the day off today, and so I slept in till like noon 30, and it was great. I had to run some errands, go to the dollar store, and I stopped in my favorite store today. It's called the Bargain Box in Woodsboro, and they have all kinds of it's a little thrift store, and they have all kinds of cool stuff. And I talked to my friend Martha, and for $2, I found a DVD of the movie. It's called The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. And I actually own this I bought the Blu-ray, but it had the DVD and it's got the soundtrack in it. But I don't have a Blu-ray player. I've got a DVD player. And I owned this movie 8-10 years ago on Blu-ray, but I never watched it. And I sold it eventually. But I saw it. It's Ben Stiller, one of my favorite actors and directors. He wrote and directed this movie based on a 1960s television show that starred Gilligan. Before he was Gilligan, he was Walter Mitty. And this is one of the best movies that I've ever seen. I'm so happy that I waited 10 years to watch it. It's a guy that, he is a simple guy, and he kind of just imagines these amazing things that happen. He works at Life magazine, and he's been the go-to point guy for the most famous photographer on the planet. And he sends him a roll of pictures, but the one that they're going to use for the very last issue of Life magazine, he works at Life magazine before they turned it into online, but he's lost the picture, and so the guy, he's got to track down the photographer to find out what the picture was. And he meets a girl, and they're slowly falling in love, but there's kind of fantasy sequences, but he actually goes on an adventure. He's got to go to Finland and jump onto a boat with a crazy drunk airline pilot, a helicopter pilot, and he jumps on a boat, and then they got to drive to Iceland, and he's outrunning a volcano because he's one step behind of the photographer, and he's trying to track down the photographer to talk to him. And it turns out the photographer is Sean Penn. He goes to Afghanistan in the Himalayas to track down the thing, and he finds him, and he says, "Oh, well, here's the picture. I sent it to you in the wallet that I had sent as a present." But earlier in the movie, Ben Stiller is depressed, and he's thrown it away in his mom's trash. And it turns out once he gets back to America, his mom has the wallet. She dug it out of the trash, and she says, "I keep all of your things as mementos, and I thought you needed this." And so she gives it back. In the picture, it ends up being a picture of Ben Stiller holding up the press sheet of the pictures that he sent. And then at the end, they fall in love. It's such a great movie, and I highly recommend you watch it. I was laughing at first. The first scene is the guy, and he's talking on the phone with the dating service, and he imagines himself as a superhero, and he jumps, he takes a pause, and he goes in and he jumps. into an apartment and he saves the girl's dog and the apartment blows up. And he hands the dog back to the girl that eventually becomes his girlfriend. You know, it's a fantasy sequence. And she says, "How did you know that this was going to happen?" He says, "Well, you know, I smelled gas and I heard your dog barking, so I jumped in to save him." And this is one of the best movies that I've ever seen. You know, I'd highly recommend it for y'all. If you want to see a great movie that's just amazing and it's wholesome and great and it has a great message about, you know, you have to take your life, you know, like instead of imagining things happen, to actually make things happen, you know, like my entire life I've wanted to be a rock star, and so I write songs every day and do videos, and that's why I do it, because I want to be a rock star, but I'm happy just to write them, and I want you all to be happy when you hear them, which is what I've been doing for 30 years, you know. I've been writing these songs, and in the last 3-4 years I've been making them into real songs, and now I'm translating that into real things, you know, writing songs about my friends that I love. So it's just, to me, one of the most important messages that I can have put into my brain. So if you want to see a great movie, and I highly recommend this, it's called The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, starring and directed by and written by Ben Stiller, who I think is one of the most amazing actors and comedians out on the planet. And like I said, I owned it. I owned this DVD, Blu-ray, 10 years or so ago when it was new, but I never watched it for some reason. And then I sold it, and then I found it today, and it was just like, you know, God pointing his finger at me and said, "Watch this today and you'll enjoy it." And I enjoyed every minute of it, and by the end I was a crying, blathering person. But that's what it is, you know, emotions that we feel, and I love it. So I recommend this movie to all you out there, and if you don't have it, you know, send me a message. I'll lend you the DVD. You know, I'll put it in the mail and let you watch it, and then you send it back to me or whatever. But it's on Netflix, I'm sure, or Google Movies or YouTube Movies. So there it is, folks. That's how I'm feeling today. I feel so happy that I watched this. And it was so awe-inspiring to what I'm into at the moment. And I'm having the best day ever. And I hope you do too. Why? Because I love you. Because I love you. That's why. Cheers. Here's the camera.